Their names all over. So it's Pioneer Gas.
Call the council meeting to order. And on the agenda, we will be deferring point 4-1. Motion for accepting or amending the agenda. Gordon and McGowan. All in favor? Carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? None noted. For the Reeves report, that we still have a hockey team playing. Their back's against the wall, but they've done it for the latter half of the season, and more power to them. And it's very gratifying. People from holidays in the States, even out west, the number that are following that Ironman Essex 73 series, so that it's very gratifying to see how they dig deep and play well. A number of things going on that I think I'll mention. The Huron Municipal Officers meeting on Friday, that I think it will be an excellent meeting, and the speaker in the afternoon will bring us some very interesting information, I think. Moving on to the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting. I have a motion. Callahan and Gordon. All in favor? Carried. Connie, do you want to introduce the Musical Muskrat Festival and
Sure.
introduction?
Sure, yeah. Tonight we're going to actually be doing a review of the 2013 event. Jay Marson was to be here to do that tonight, but unfortunately he was called out of town. So I will be stepping in for Jay, and joining me is Tiffany Brown. She is the chair for the 2014 event. So I will start, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video that was actually shot at last year's event. I hope.
blast of the horn, we're underway. And then we go to Red Carpet Yachts of Fun, our first ever this afternoon. And away they go, Misfits versus Lethal. Third preliminary round race. And the Misfits getting off to a good start. Congratulations to Ned Cart, defending champions, beverage tickets, beer cozies, and a round of golf to enjoy.
So that video actually last year was shot for us by Mark Bevan. So as most of you know, the Muskrat Festival actually came about after the last homecoming. Because everybody really liked the idea that there was going to be a festival in town, people were getting together. And so a really dedicated group of volunteers took on the Muskrat Festival. So the planning committee last year, and specifically going to talk about last year, the planning committee, as you know, Jay Marston was the last year he did chair. Jim Whitkins has been on there from the very beginning in charge of finance. Dan Kitts was logistics. Pam Tippin last year again was on there from year 2. Handled food and volunteers. Bruce Staten from the very beginning has been leading the cardboard boat races. Jillian Underwood is fairly new to the committee, but she's got a much bigger part this year. She and Stephanie Curry were doing marketing last year. Richard Al helps out with the website. Brittany Tippin does social media. Trevor Sipe last year was in charge of the beverage tent and probably a whole lot more. Ken Hogg was bar captain. Mark Leslie for the last 3 years has been running the car show, and Sean McCurdy was the liaison for the firefighters game. And there's probably more because, as you know, a festival like this, it takes a lot of volunteers and a lot of man hours to put it together. So, as you know, the last few years they have been enhanced, they've been doing some enhanced children's activities. There's really been a focus in making this a real family-oriented event, and they have, it's been very exciting. There's a lot of kids around. Great food. This is last year, this is Garnet from
Brian Garnet.
Thank you, from Blythe. He actually stepped up and helped us. I mean, he had put on an awesome dinner for us on the Friday night, and he actually came back on the Saturday as well. There has been a real focus on local entertainment over the last couple of years, and that's been it's been really well received. Fireman games, of course, have been a major part of the festival since the very beginning, as have been the boat races. The boat races are actually almost to capacity, just because they're running long enough. They don't really know if they can take many more, but not to deter anybody. because it's a really, really great day. We've got a lot of teams come back year after year, and the last couple of years has been a real increase in businesses, and we've seen some boats come in from farther afield, which is kind of nice. Car show, like I say, Leslie has been running the car show for us, I believe, for the last 3 years. The Muskrat Festival has also really been some great opportunities for community involvement. I'm getting my blood type done there. The Scouts have taken on the concession booth the last couple of years. Before that, some grade 8 classes have run it. There's some businesses got involved last year doing some tattoos for kids, braids for kids. I mean, so it's been a real exciting opportunity for a lot of people to get there and just kind of be involved and show what they're doing in their business or in their groups. The Lions have actually in the past set up a booth there. The hospital auxiliary has. So sponsors, I hope I haven't missed any there, but it's just to give you an idea of the amount of sponsors that we get and the amount of community backing that we get for the festival. And I'm going to say again, I'm sure if some of you were at the pageant for homecoming the other night, the girls had to get up and talk about what it meant to live in Wingham. And I was absolutely, truly amazed and astounded the number of them that mentioned the Muskrat Festival and their memories of Muskrat Festival and growing up in Wingham. So it was very, very interesting to know that the impact it's having on the youth and how kind of special it is for them and being part of their hometown. Now, last year we figure there was only about 2,000 people in attendance, which is not a bad. Certainly it's down from the previous years. 2011 was probably the most successful year and probably had the most people to date. 2013 also, the profit was down a little bit. They did realize a profit of $1,500. As you know, the last couple of years through the building of the Muskrat Festival, the committee was able to pay off the seed money that the municipality had given the municipality, and they have actually been very profitable. They have purchased picnic tables for down at the river, and last year they actually purchased a new Maddie suit, so we don't have near as scary as a muskrat. And we hope to get Maddie out and around to some community events these couple of years. So again, the weather, I believe, last year and a whole lot of other events going on the same night really affected it. But I believe that we've got a new committee, a whole lot of new energy, and they are really keen to go forward this year. And I think that we are going to see a few changes, and I'm going to let Tiffany talk about that. But I really think that for sustainability, this really is a festival that is here for the long haul. And I'm going to let Tiffany take over from there.
All right. My name is Tiffany Brown. I've been a resident of Wingham for about 5 years now. I'm taking on the chair of the 2014 Musical Muskrat Festival Committee. This is the 9th year, and it's set to take place this June 6th, 7th, and 8th. I'm here tonight in hopes to deem the festival a municipal significant event. Once it's deemed, we will be applying for a public SOP in order to obtain a public liquor permit. This year we have a new, excited, and hardworking committee intend to create more of a profit in order to fulfill our long-term goal of purchasing a pavilion down at the ballpark. In order to make more of a profit, we're closely monitoring our expenses. One of these expenses we incur is from the town. We're asking for such fees to be waived with council funds, fees including the park rental, lifeguards, tent permit, which totals approximately $603. We have an expectation for town workers, including Public Works and the Rec Department, for assisting in setup, cleanup, and the equipment. We have a detailed list for each, in which we will be discussing with those departments prior to the event. Also, in order to hold the event, we're asking for an exemption of the noise bylaw for June 6th, 7th, and 8th. Right now, we're at the sponsorship stage of the event, in which some are lower than previous years due to the homecoming going on this year. The Musical Muskrat Festival won a presence in Wingham's 2014 town events, and we invite you all to participate in the event and show your support to the festival this year.
And if I could just add to that, it was mentioned a few times that when we were at council, they would really like to see council put in a boat this year. They think that that's something that's really missing, so we were to extend an invitation on behalf of the committee for you to build your boat and come on out and
We did that once, it sank.
and try it. So I guess that is it. If you have any questions for Tiffany or myself, and actually Trevor's here as well, so he can certainly speak to any questions you might have.
Who's the captain of the boat?
Yeah, won't be me, let me tell you. I can remember being in the river with Denise one night. I nearly lost my glasses. It wasn't funny.
We'd make a good team then.
It would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Last time I was in the river, it was a canoe going down upside down, and I just stood there and watched it go.
Okay, well, he's the captain. I'll make a motion to deem the Musical Muskrat Community Festival.
Seconded by Bailey. All in favor? Carried.
I'd also make a motion to extend the noise bylaw.
Same people making it?
No second.
We'll waive it.
Second, Murray.
We'll waive it.
Okay.
All in favor? Carried. We look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Fees for the park rental, is there a motion there or not?
Yeah, I'll put a motion for it, $600
$603.
yes.
Seconder? Reach? Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Can I do something about the weather?
Dave?
Question is, are you doing the rib cook-off again this year? And do we need to show everybody how to cook ribs?
If you want to do that, no. We're currently asking the food vendors and things right now. I know that the health unit was down there last year. As of right now, there are no plans for the rib cook-off. Due
No.
to vendor.
Yeah, not that it had anything to do with the health unit by any means. At this point in time, we don't have anybody that's going to run the rib fast. So if anybody would like to step up and take on that, we would be really, really keen. After you've done in your boat, you can run the rib off.
Okay. Is any other questions or comments on Musical Muskrat Festival? Well, thank you, Connie and Tiffany, and we look forward to it.
The snow will be gone, right?
Hopefully. It'll just make the river higher, we think.
Oh, okay.
It's the only better.
Thank you. Moving forward, Gary, do you want to introduce the next ones?
Okay, thank you, Reeve. Roberta Steffer, would like to have your presentation now. If you, Roberta, if you could also identify the group that you're speaking on behalf of.
Well, I guess I'm probably speaking on my own behalf.
Good, Berta, that's good.
And that's because I happen to believe in this town and think that we have to do whatever we can do. We live here, we should promote it. Anyway, what I've come for is to make a recommendation to council. And I think you have what I'm here to talk about is, and what our recommendation is that you install 2 signs, one at the north end and one at the south end of town, announcing to travelers that this town is the birthplace of Alice Munro. We have an opportunity right now to encourage tourism. Alice has provided us an opportunity we cannot pass up. The museum has an Alice Munro exhibit, the literary garden, and a walking or driving tour of locations named in Alice's books. And in consultation with Connie and Lori Schneider, we have investigated several different materials and sign designs. We've settled on the one in front of you that you have. And this week, Lori did up a mock-up, which we took to the 2 ends of town to see how visible and readable the sign would be. So really, we've done the research, and now it's up to you to ratify our recommendation so we can have the signs up in the next 2 months to catch people going or coming to the lake and before homecoming. Costing that's not included in the sign is hydro for the sign and a light fixture that would go on the sign. So we hope you will find the money in your budget to do the promotion of our town. And so that's where we're at. We've had several quotes, from this one all the way up to brass, which runs us into, well, we're talking probably 22,000 and so on. And we felt we didn't need to go to that extent. The main thing is the wording being big enough so that as people are driving through or by, they can see it. And I found this winter when I was away, there were people asked you where you were from. Well, I tried telling them that I was from north of London, because every time I said Wingham, they just sort of went like, where is that? And I changed my description after that, and I started saying, I'm from Alice Munro country. Well, everybody got totally interested then, and it's surprising how many people are talking about coming to Wingham this spring in particular, because I told them the garden's always the nicest in the spring, so come then. So that's what I'm presenting. I dealt with Connie, we discussed it all, and as you see up here, we found probably one of the windiest days this week to go stand out there and hold it up and go across the street, the highways, and to see, could you really see it? And actually it's very readable. So that's what we're asking for, is if you would accept the recommendation for the sign and 2 signs, and then we can proceed to get them up in the next 2 months. Anybody got any questions?
That all basically lead on. You would want the 2 signs in conjunction with the north and south Wingham signs?
Well, those...
Or...
No, yes, well, they will be off to the
Yeah.
side of it. As you see there, we're off to the side of it, between the Communities in Bloom and the Wingham sign.
James, did you...
I'll make it a motion, then we can discuss it. To
Okay.
accept this.
Yeah, that's proper.
do I have a seconder then? Reach, second. James?
Have you talked to Morris Turnberry? There's
No.
a sign that go on Morris Turnberry property.
We already got that permission before to put the sign up out there.
Okay, I just...
So we have that permission,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
yeah.
Brock?
I have a question. Where was Alice born?
In the Wingham District Hospital,
Was she?
Wingham General Hospital at that time. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check on that because there was quite a controversy just after the appointment of the Nobel
Yes.
Prize. And
Also, if you read in any one of her books about Alice Munro, the first sentence is, "I was born in Wingham, Ontario." So she makes it quite clear where she comes from.
well, that's good.
Yes.
You mentioned about hydro to light the sign. What about putting luminescent paint on instead of,
That's a possibility as well.
that'd be probably a lot more cost effective than,
You see, there's hydro out there because we had hydro to both signs when they were put up. So that there would always be, our signs would always be lit at night. So there's always another possibility.
Councillor McGowan?
Just wondering for clarification, Berta, the sign itself, the quote says for sign only. Does this include the post concept as well?
No, Connie will talk to that. She was looking after the post part.
Actually, Kelly, I've talked to Kelly. There are some posts along beside the old WOAA building across the street or from the cenotaph that need to be repurposed, removed, and they would be beautiful posts for the signs.
Apparently we own them.
Yeah. And the lights are broken off the top. They have been for years.
Yeah.
So that's our idea.
So,
Councillor Vaughn?
so the lights would be floodlights shining on the sign?
Or on the top of the sign.
Okay. Okay,
One or the
it's not a
other.
backlit kind of situation.
No, no.
Well, the sign is actually much like the Wingham sign, the Welcome to Wingham sign is.
Yeah.
It is, it's a Lumalite, but it'll be painted in automotive paint and then clear coated. So, and it'll look, as Lori has there, very, very classy, a little bit historical, a little bit old fashioned, so.
It was very nice we had Lori with us too when we went up to the north end sign, because there's an area of the sign out there that the paint is peeling. And so she's going to pursue that to get it fixed again. Strangely enough, it's the latest sign, the one that was at the south end was first, and not a problem with it.
We'll also need, I would imagine, county approvals again, won't we? Or possibly, Kelly?
Well, that's not too difficult.
No,
I can talk to my brother-in-law.
not as difficult as, yeah, you've got an in there. Not as difficult as, isn't there somebody buried under that sign, bro?
I don't think you quite made it.
No, I don't.
I tried hard.
I know. Okay.
That's an old story.
Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion. All in favor? Carried.
We can proceed?
Very good. Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Gary, do you want to introduce him?
Okay, and Proctor Staten and John Cullis.
Good evening, Reeve Vincent, councillors. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Ernest Steffler, John Cull, myself, and Proctor Staten, Friends of Alice Munro, we're seeking Committee of Council recognizing the 2013 Nobel Literary winner and our very own leading lady, Alice Munro. Who do you think you are? We have the lights, please.
Reed Vincent, members of council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt in my mind that the municipality of North Huron should recognize in a tangible and permanent way the honor and distinction that Alice Munro has brought not only to herself and her home environment, but an honor that is recognized locally, provincially, nationally, and internationally. I am suggesting that July the 10th, 2015, be declared Alice Munro Day in North Huron, and that the municipality host a worldwide celebration, the focus of which would be the unveiling of a statue in a public location. Ideally, Ms. Munro herself would be present for this event, unveiling the statue with the help of the Governor-General of Canada. With a lot of enthusiasm, dedication, and hard work and fundraising, this could be a banner day in the history of North Huron. Now, technical. I would like to introduce you to sculptures made by a well-known Canadian sculptor, Ruth Abernethy. For those of you who remember the King of Kensington, this statue of Al Waxman with the double bench was placed in Kensington Park, close to the entrance to the Kensington Market, right in front of the synagogue. If you know something about horses, you'll recognize the name Big Ben. That's not Big Ben, that's Glenn Gould. We'll go back one. Maybe. Big Ben, and when you look at this statue, and there's such a wonderful definition of detail. This is in Perth, Ontario. This statue of Glenn Gould, it's in front of the CBC building in Toronto. It was based on a very famous photograph that was taken of Glenn Gould in the Muskokas in the 50s. And Ruth Abernethy, in talking with the photographer, they decided on this approach to the statue, and you can see already that people have used it, not only the bench, but they've sat on Glenn Gould's knee and they've rubbed the toe of his boot. Where I lived the other half of the week, in Waterloo County, Wilmot Township celebrated the 150th anniversary of the township by erecting this garden, the oasis in the center, with a statue of the two children called Leap of Faith. The original township hall has been moved to Black Creek Pioneer Village, and this became quite an event for the whole township. And my final slide is a picture of William Lyon Mackenzie King, a graduate of alumnus of Kitchener-Waterloo Collegiate, and it's quite a unique situation of putting him on the grass there leading up to the front door. Some of you may know Oscar Peterson's statue in Ottawa in front of the National Arts Centre. Again, he's sitting at his grand piano, the bench is bare, people are always sitting on the bench. I don't know whether they're singing or helping him play. Ruth Abernethy, and I would suggest that you look up her website at www.ruthabernethy.ca. At the request of the committee, I've already talked to her about this project, and she said, I would be honored to sculpt Alice Munro. As a still living, very well-known subject, she's a perfect challenge. There are many Canadian women whose accomplishments warrant public portraits, and this would be an excellent place to start. Also in Ottawa and in Guelph this spring, there will be 2 statues by Ruth Abernethy for commemorating Colonel McCrae in Flanders Fields. So, I know that some of the questions you might want to ask, and we'll get around to those, but I think you probably had the idea from these photos that a statue of Alice Munro would make, in and for this community, an added attraction for the increasing number of tourists who want to visit Alice Munro country. Alice Munro, Nobel laureate. Her stature is known worldwide. Her statue belongs in Wingham.
Any questions?
Oh, it's a great idea.
Brock?
I think the tangibility of this is terrific. Right away we think of the budget. Oh, the budget. But I think the community would be very, very supportive of this, as I think we as council should be supportive too. But I think that this is a community effort, and it goes far beyond Wingham. Thanks.
Gary?
Just to pick up on Councillor Bodden's comments, I think as you may know, Ann and John, that Connie has been working very closely with the County of Huron and the Province of Ontario on the possibilities of a labour market partnership fund that would be provided by one of the Ontario ministries. We already have a collaborative of North Huron, Central Huron, Morris Turnberry, and the county. And all of the municipalities have contributed some funds towards that labour market partnership. So,
When will that study be completed?
Connie, could you give us maybe some more specifics on that?
Okay, the labor market partnership isn't just a study. What we are looking at is actually to hire a coordinator that will actually oversee a lot of things, Alice. And as part of the project, there will be 5 studies completed. One will be festival development, one will be museum development, one will be digital literacy, one will be international tourism, and I always forget the 5th. Well, the whole thing is actually looking at the potential for jobs in tourism, and to make what we have here in our Alice Munro and the attraction to this area for it, and how we can keep that sustainable, and what is the best way to approach this, so it's not just a 6-month interest in our area, but it's going to continue to be, to continue to draw people for years and years. So that is we're looking at wrapping up stage 1 or phase 1 of the project, March 31st, 2015.
Would it be the museum development? Is that the 5th one?
No.
She did say.
Sorry.
Bernie?
So do you
you have a preferred location for this? I'm gonna presume you're gonna go across the street since we have all that land around and behind that building. We're really just cutting year after year.
Not, we don't have a confirmed location. If we receive your recognition as a committee, we'd appreciate a council member on board. And then we look at fundraising, which would go social media.
Dave?
That was kind of my first question. Any idea of the cost of the statue and any idea on fundraising for it?
Yes.
Depending
I knew John
on,
would have the answer.
yeah, depending on the size and complexity of the statue, it would range between $70,000 and $125,000. I know the one on, well, having gone through this in Wilmot Township, I know that we raised the money. As far as location, depending on what's done about the library, there's a wonderful place there. And if we were to have it in conjunction with the library, that would give the sculptor an idea of how she might design the statue. Statue design, this kind of design, needs a lot of creativity and help. And of course, I find that her work is wonderful.
Personally, I think it's something that we can definitely maybe work into, I'll say, the international tourism part, and that it's something that personally I want council and the committee working together on it. Any other councillors have comments? James?
I've actually sat beside that gentleman down in Ottawa. The piano, but it didn't make any music, and I can't make music with me. But I did admire the work that was done there, and I really feel that this is very positive. And I think this is a great way to recognize her. And I think this council should be behind this.
Brock?
Going back to what I said before, I've been concerned about the lack of tangible evidence of notifying the world about the importance that we apply to this situation. I think the labor market study kind of sounds pretty flat. I mean, I realize there's a lot more to it than a labor market study as we usually interpret it, but this tangible kind of thing is absolutely essential. If we miss this, we're missing everything.
I'd make a motion to designate the committee as a committee of council and to continue on with the investigation and report back to council on as they go through the planning process.
I'll second that.
Got that, Gary?
Yes, thank you.
Any discussion on that motion? Maurice?
Just a quick one then. As a committee of council, though, you're going to work with the other people that are involved in this as well, or are we going off in a different direction? Again, it's all, as a committee of council, are you going to be involved with the two folks over there? You're going to work together? Okay.
She was included.
Okay, it's very important.
Well, I look at this as a very positive movement, and that I personally know a number of people that would be interested in helping finance to make sure it gets done. So that, thank you very much for your work and thought processes on how to properly recognize Alice Munro, and that, yes, council definitely wants to be there with all the people that are bringing good ideas forward. Thank you very much.
May I submit the list of names?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
For Friends of Alice Munro. This is the start of it.
Okay. That I know that all in favor? Carried unanimously.
Thank you very much, Council. Yeah, thank you.
Marie Vincent?
Oh, I thought this was a gift.
Well, you can take it back to the Huron County Library.
I'd like to thank the committee for the work that we've done, almost behind the scenes, and I think these have done a great job.
There's more things going on.
That's
but
great.
They're not just in place yet.
Very good.
Don't be letting secrets out here, Brian.
Not till I'm ready.
I suggest you read her books. They're marvelous.
Exciting. Thank you.
Well, definitely thank you to all the ones that are working on the project, and that we will continue. Moving on to business arising from previous meetings. Point 1, West Ontario Board of Directors, are we ready to move forward with something there or not?
Just to wonder if the clerk can report, I understand there's 2 parties that are interested or have shown interest in
Okay.
the position.
And one of those individuals has declined. He's definitely interested, but just given other commitments, and he's just not, he feels that he's not going to be able to devote the time that's necessary to fulfill the obligations. But yes, there is still one person who's definitely interested.
I'll see you.
How does council want to proceed then?
I'm prepared to appoint the other candidate and choose the one to do it.
I wonder if somebody should maybe fill out here on the previous meeting.
Well, I've already, Yep. I think for consistency purposes, it's a good option for council to have a business person from outside being on the board. That way the focus is wholly on the corporate aspect of this. This is no small job. We were all very fortunate for great 3 years to have Mr. Saxton doing that job for us, and he came with a wealth of experience in running the PUC. I think, councils come and go, but there is some real tangible benefit to having consistency in this particular position, because it is a very valuable position to the municipality, and it's a big investment for the municipality. So I'm prepared to appoint one of the gentlemen.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Brock?
I may have been asleep on this, but have we seen the letter of application?
This individual has sent me an email expressing his interest and has enclosed his resume outlining his work experience and credentials and so on.
Should we not?
If you want to review that with council here?
Sure. It's a resume that expression of interest from Bart Cameron, who is the current president and CEO of Bruce Telecom. Mr. Cameron is a Wingham resident and has considerable experience with bookkeeping, accounting, financial management, leadership, operations, and would be honored to be the township's appointment to the board of directors for West Ontario.
Okay. Any comments?
Just a comment. I would have felt better if we'd had 2 or 3 applicants writing letters of interest in more detail. But if others are prepared to support this, I will. I just have some questions about the procedures that we've used.
So,
Right.
So do we advertise this for, or a position for anyone, or how it was
In the paper?
through the paper?
Well, actually, there was not an advertisement or any notice for this position. This individual and another individual expressed interest in applying, when and if there was an advertisement and notice placed in the paper. So no, there has not been any advertisement or notice. I'm looking for direction as to how council wants to proceed. If you choose to put an advertisement in the newspaper, I think Mr. Cameron would apply for that position, and we could see who else would be interested in the position. So Mr. Cameron was interested because there was an article in the paper, but not an advertisement.
Brock.
Then I'm going to withdraw my support. I think we should advertise this position.
Dave?
I'll make a motion that we advertise, to have, is
There's a motion on the floor.
motion on the floor? Okay, we'll dispose of it.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Council wishes to advertise, I'm fine with that. Mr. Cameron's got a wealth of experience, but I'm quite happy to wait if the council wants to look at other applications beforehand. That's not a big deal. I don't know what time is like with the essence for Westario, but we could advertise and then collect those in the next.
Am I correct in saying they will have a meeting on the 16th of April? And that basically it's quarterly meetings.
That is true, and speaking with Westario officials, they said it's not necessary that we have a temporary appointee at the April 16th meeting. In fact, they would prefer that we not send anybody on a temporary basis. They would like to have a permanent appointee in place. So I think the next meeting would be the annual general meeting, which takes place sometime in late June.
Councillor Bailey?
So I, through
Wait,
your
we
worship,
have-
did Jim move that?
Yes.
You moved it and Jim seconded it.
I'm willing to rescind it then, temporarily until
Yes,
we
I
gather
Until
other
proper
applications, if that's wish.
Advertisement.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. That's, Bernie? Or-
I'd like to put a motion forward that the representative at the Westario board.
I would second that motion. Head of council.
Discussion?
What if, now, does that mean that every 4 years, if the Reeve doesn't get reelected, that we have a new representative on the board?
Yes.
So this year, then, we would have a representative for possibly 2 months, and then we have another, or 2 meetings, and then we have another representative.
He's getting ready, man.
Or maybe not.
Yes.
Brock?
I think that this appointment should be a matter of qualifications. I don't think it should be an ex officio appointment. So I wouldn't be in favor of this motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor? I would say defeated. So, Dave?
I'll make a motion that North Huron Council advertise for a representative to sit on the Westario board, and we accept applications.
Second.
Got that? Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to point 2 in business arising from previous meetings. Sally McMillan, planner from Huron County Planning and Development, on the zoning bylaw amendment. You want to fill us in?
I'm ready, yeah. Good evening, everybody. This won't be nearly as exciting as music or muskrats or Alice Monroe, but it is quite important to the property owners. So, and I just wanted to just word to the wise that when you talk about buried bodies, that you be careful who's listening, or else you may end up in an archaeological assessment, and those are costly. So this is a zone amendment that we looked at maybe a month and a half ago, and it's on Marnock Line. It is a property that is largely natural environment. It's wetland and woodlands, and it's around 7.3 acres. And at the time, if you'll remember, I recommended deferral, and you did defer for more information about the suitability of the property for development. So a lot of discussion has been had about a small area of the property that has been cleared and raised with A and B gravel, and it measures 0.14 hectares. So it's not a large part of the property, just about a third of an acre. And that area was cleared and raised because of a zone amendment almost 24 years ago that permitted a dwelling to be put on this property, and so therefore the groundwork was done in order to get a dwelling put there. But unfortunately, one was never actually proposed or built, so the building permit was never sought. And since then, the property's changed hands a couple of times, and also North Huron, the amalgamation of the former townships created North Huron, and subsequent to that, the 3 zoning bylaws went together. And during that bringing of those zoning bylaws together, the ability to, or the permission to put a dwelling on that clearing was removed. So the main purpose of the amendment then is to bring back the right of that property owner, essentially, to put a dwelling on that cleared and raised area. However, the case is, and was when it was approved the first time, and if it gets approved again today, is that without an actual house being picked out, and the location of that house, and the location of the septic, and some soil analysis done to figure out what impact the septic might have on the wetland, and whether or not a specialized septic may be needed, it's basically impossible to determine whether or not this spot is good enough or suitable for a dwelling. So what I've proposed here to the landowner, and they have agreed in principle, and asked me to bring it back to you now, is that we go ahead recommending that the zone amendment be approved to permit the dwelling, but that right in the amendment, in the text in your bylaw, in North Huron's bylaw, it be clear that additional permits are required, and that before it can be certain, you can be certain that a dwelling could be put there, that you get the development permit from the MVCA and the septic permit from the health unit. Those 2 things would lead you to a building permit here. So if there was a hiccup along the way, then you would find that out during that process and investigation of soils. And if it's placed right into the text of the bylaw, then it's possible then that a potential buyer would find it, and a realtor certainly should go there and look up the zoning and find it for any purchasers. So it would allow the current owner to have a clear understanding of what's needed in order to go beyond the just zoning permission and into the other permissions. And it would alert any potential buyers to the same effect. So it achieves both reinstating a right that was potentially inadvertently removed through zoning. It reinstates that at the same time as being very clear about what needs to occur before that property could be developed. So I'm recommending that, that a revised bylaw, and the revision includes those caveats, be approved.
Okay, Ray?
Thanks, Sally. I think I understand this quite clearly. Thank you. And I would make a motion that this amendment for his own amendment be approved and that the bylaw reflect the other permits that need to be addressed.
That is already in the bylaws.
Right.
Do we need a motion now or deal with it in the bylaws?
There will be the bylaw later on in the agenda for council to consider. I think it would be helpful as a formality to adopt the planner's recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're making a motion
that's
to
what
adopt
I
the
said.
planner's recommendation?
I'll second
That's right. That's what I said.
Okay, Hallahan and Vaden. James?
I have a letter here from Maple Valley with their recommendations. And when I see some of these recommendations that they're talking about, all development must occur above the high water table. A raised septic bed may be required according to high groundwater conditions. Development will only be permitted in the existing clear and filled area on the site. There's a map here. There's a limitation of restrictions on trees, vegetation, contributing to the conservation of the land, wetland, and the river valley. Those are going to be pretty tough to get around.
Well,
Some of them will be and some of them won't be.
yeah, it really depends on the layout of the lot and where they want to put the house. So
Yes.
it is the property is part of the river valley, the flyway. What they want to evaluate once they know the location of the house is whether or not it would be impacted by erosion or floodwaters. So it could be moved farther to the front of the lot. And it does come down to what kind of a house and a septic system. So the impression that I'm getting from the comments written and verbal from the Conservation Authority and the health unit is that with the right technology, the property probably could be developed, but they have to go through the motions and really nail down how big is the house going to be, how many bathrooms, and what kind of a septic could work for it, and how high is the water table there, and really what we're talking about is gravel over top of wetland. So there's a specialized system is going to be required. So, but it's not to say that it can't be developed. I think that the Conservation Authority will tell us now if it's just not going to happen.
After the last council meeting that we talked about this, I contacted Maple Valley to see why we didn't have a report on this land. I drove up to the property.
We had that.
Yeah, but that was not presented to the council the last time.
Okay. Their comments were summarized in my report.
Yes, and they had questions on, because of, right then, they couldn't go and really assess this property to make a good recommendation of what would be or couldn't be there. And in talking with them, like they said, we really can't do anything until the snow's gone. So we can dig the proper test holes and all this kind of stuff to know exactly what they're getting into. And they really didn't object to the rezoning, but if all of a sudden some of these people, we've gone to all this work, and it's not going to be a viable piece of property to put a building on, and talking with two of the ones from over there, I wonder if we shouldn't wait until they're able to do a proper, even the health unit do a proper assessment on this lot that is there. I don't know, it was just one of those things that they were wondering, just how can we do a proper assessment until the snow, until we can go and dig test holes and all this before it's done.
So
I'm just thinking we're trying to get these hopes up for these people, and maybe they can't.
Well, that's the purpose of putting those caveats in the zone amendment, and I have been clear with the owner today. So they have no intention of developing the property. They're trying to sell the property. And that's what brought about this amendment in the first place, because that's when they learned that this ability, or at least the zoning piece, there are 4 check marks that have to happen, and only one of those check marks is zoning. So what they have asked and what they're asking by the amendment is, can we reinstate the zoning to where it was before it was removed unintentionally? And let somebody buy it knowing, or at least market it knowing that there are other check marks that need to be obtained. And without going ahead and doing soil analysis and picking a house and exploring the possibility of what septic system is really needed, it will always be inconclusive. And the current owner isn't going to, they're not going to pick a house that may not get built. So it's important that we make it clear for a future owner who is going to pick a house and decide if they want to put it there and go through this effort that they know up front before they buy it that it's not a slam dunk. And I have spoken with Brandy at MBCA since, just at the beginning of April. And she was clear here about what they would have to do.
So you probably got the same letter, I agree.
Well, we had that letter last time. This is further.
Okay.
It's a conversation her and I have had by way of email so that it's recorded.
Right.
Sally, if we don't pass this amendment, and I understand they've got to go by all the health unit and make them value that, they can't proceed with anything until we pass the amendment. So, like, to proceed with anything, to find out if they can build it, they can't build it, what they can do. So,
If it's
we're
not
gonna
permitted
amend
through
it,
the zoning, then it's an absolute non-starter.
yeah, right. So we got to move ahead with it. That's my feeling, to let them get their permits or do whatever they have to do.
And the main reason behind my recommendation is that this starting point was provided once already. And they put the fill in anticipation of developing it, and they've created this space. So, you know, some work has been done towards development, and a permission was granted at one point in time. And the consolidation of a zoning bylaw isn't meant to take the rights away from somebody when they've already gone through the process and paid for the process of going through a zone amendment, which was approved. So this sort of corrects or rights the wrong, if you will, and lets them proceed. But this time around, let's be clear about what still needs to happen, because these caveats were the same back then. They just weren't identified in writing. And so when property changes hands, people don't know that. They don't come and look in the property file. They don't go to the planning department and make an inquiry necessarily. So if it's in the zoning, it's more public, it's more easily findable, and a realtor should be living there.
Okay. Nothing else? Those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you, Sally. Moving to department reports. Any questions or comments on the health and safety report? We need to formally adopt the 2014 Occupational Health and Safety Policy Statement in the terms of reference. Do I have a mover? Reach, McGowan?
Could we have an indication of major changes that have been made in this?
I can get that for you. Major changes?
This is on the health and safety.
Oh, I thought you said provincial policy. It could change too.
We'll talk about that.
Thanks anyway.
Okay.
I'm not aware of sorry, I don't believe that there were any changes other than to update and update some names.
Okay.
The Joint Health and Safety Committee meet quarterly. We had our meeting last Thursday, and the chair and committee members are to be commended for the work they do and for taking health and safety very seriously here at the township. We'll do the motion.
We have motion moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to point 2, administration, Memorial Hall Renovation Committee update. Gary?
Okay, thank you, Reeve. Just wanted to provide council with an update on the Memorial Hall Renovation Committee. This is a subcommittee on the campaign 1419. I've listed the committee members, and the committee is comprised of municipal staff, representatives from campaign 1419, the Blythe Festival, the Blythe Legion. We also have a couple of community members. The committee has reviewed the facility condition assessment. It's also important to note that Tor Dingman has been retained by the committee to develop a process to select an architect, and Tor has put that process together. It should be noted that his fees will be paid by the campaign. A request for qualifications, an RFQ document has been prepared, and that has been sent to 5 architects within the Huron-Perth area. The deadline for those RFQs is this Friday, April 11th. These RFQs will be evaluated by Tor and the committee the week of April 21st, and the list will be narrowed to 3 architects who would then have an opportunity to submit an RFP. It should also be noted that the campaign 1419 has the funds to retain an architect for the initial concept design phase, and that the township has, with the assistance of a lawyer, has drafted a terms of reference that outlines the purpose of the committee and stipulates that recommendations will be made to North Huron Council, who have final decision-making authority regarding the project design. I've also outlined proposed project timelines, and hopefully we can stick to these. So it's really just an update. I don't require any motion, but I'd be pleased to answer any questions you have.
Anything? Okay. Moving to point 3, the International Building Safety Month proclamation for 2014. This is something that we routinely do. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hallahan and Councillor Campbell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to 4.2. North Huron West Gas Community Center roof repair update. Do you have something, Gary?
Thank you, Reeve. Pat is away this evening. She sent me a note to say that she has put together an advertisement for the ad going in the local papers this week regarding the roof repairs at the complex. If there are any questions, she can address them at the next council meeting scheduled for April 22nd. But in summary, the project is moving forward and the tender process is underway to find a contractor for the work. I can circulate a copy of the advertisement. Council?
Right.
I'm just going to circulate a copy of the ad, Council. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving to point 5, Director of Public Works. There's point 1 is the staff report on gravel tenders.
Thanks, Reed.
It's fairly self-explanatory. Anything you want to add, Kelly?
Well, we've changed the tonnage this year due to the tar and chip, so that's why the change in the tonnage is there. Any other questions? I'm more than happy to answer.
James, how's this cost compared to other years? Is this pretty much par with what we've had? Per yard?
Actually, for current or for just the contract, like the tenders?
It's a tender.
Yeah, yeah, they're all very in line with everybody's, stayed fairly close, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So normally, Kelly, what would we crush normally?
20,000.
20,000, okay.
And then in the past years, we've stockpiled some as well.
I'd make a motion that we accept the tender for the Swine Crush delivered 15.
Councillor Campbell seconds. Any further discussion? Councillor Campbell?
Will there be a stockpile or something?
Well, we still have stockpile left.
But wouldn't there be restocking anymore?
All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, point 2, staff report, Mill Street Storm Sewer Outlet and Road Reconstruction Project. Alan?
Yeah, and the report is in front of you, and my recommendation is, due to the last couple of years, we've not secured any funding from the government to help us with this project, and it's definitely something that needs to be done for economic development, and, alleviating the problems that we have in Blythe. So we would like to take on this job between the Public Works and the utilities staff to move this project forward, and I'm looking for council support in doing this. So you have my numbers out here that we've compiled between the utilities and the Public Works, and we think we can go ahead and do this project.
Ray?
I think it's a good idea, and I'm supportive of it. With the estimate on it, we're going to be about 140,000 short, maybe.
Well, it's closer to 160, actually.
160, yeah, I'm just...
And where we're going to make that up is, like, I've added the labor cost here as well.
Okay.
But when you're tendering out to a contractor, they tend to have a higher number there. So that's where we've tried to tweak that, and Dawn can speak on that as well. Like, you know, we want to do it in-house. We want to try this project. We think we can do it for the amount of money that we've looked at.
Dave?
How far, you're going from the creek up to Westmoreland? Are you going beyond Westmoreland up Mill?
Not at this,
Just
not at this project.
Just Westmoreland.
Meters. We have about 170 meters of pipe to put in for the storm from the creek. So, if you can read in my report, the last thing that I put is Public Works staff and utility staff are enthusiastic to work together on this project this summer. So,
We share your enthusiasm.
in blood.
Right.
Okay, we have a motion.
Councillor Hallahan, did you make that motion?
Oh, I'm supportive of it, but yes, I can make the motion. Yes, I'll make the motion.
Councillor Bailey, seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Moving to new business. Barn Dance Historical Society 17th Annual Barn Dance Campout Jamboree, May 22nd to 25th, 2014. They have a request for an exemption from the security provisions in the rental arrangements.
So moved.
My second.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. We did that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did that.
We've already done point 2, so moving to point 3, Hollitt Central Public School, the Blythe Arena Hall rental request for June 24th, 2014.
I'll move that we do this at no rental.
By Road,
One second.
Rich and Biden. Any further council comments or discussion? Dave?
I'm moving this in support of the kids that come from Live, and I guess I'm in a way holding my nose as doing it because the school is in Central Huron, and we don't get a lot of support for this type of thing from Central Huron, but I think it's good that we support the kids, and so I think it's a good gesture on our part to waive the rental fee for the kids.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, blank BIA Board of Directors of 2014 budget require a motion.
Yeah, motion to adopt the budget. Don, you need to speak to it.
Yes. You want to do the board of directors
Sure.
Okay. Point number 4, the first part, we need to pass a motion accepting the Board of Directors, Bailey and Reach. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, Donna, do you want to make any comment on the 2014 budget?
Sure. So a copy of the 2014 budget was on your desk there this evening. And so there was some few minor corrections made in the budget since the board had looked at it. So I believe that Deb Scholdice had sent out a note to the board members just for some very minor revisions. So they have an ambitious budget in front of you. I just wanted to make a couple of points. So their levy is still $6,600, which is what we levy for them and turn that over to them. But they actually have a budget of $30,950, and that's for various other projects that the BIA is going to take on. And they have a pretty exciting year outlined for themselves. So just another note also, in the past they have set aside some of the levy of the $6,600 to be set aside in reserves, and this year they have more projects, so they're not putting any of that money into reserves, but if their fundraising turns out to be the way that they intend to, they would be able to transfer some of the fundraising money into reserves. So on this budget, the items that the $6,600 pertains to is bolded, and the word levy is written beside that. So that tells you what the what particular projects that the $6,600 that they are levied will be allocated to.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Questions or comments?
Did you have any other comments, Dave?
No, I'm good. You explained it well.
Okay, thanks.
No motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry.
Or, oh,
Move in a second.
oh, mover and seconder.
I'll move it.
And Brock. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to point 5, accepting the Board of Directors for Wingham BIA. Do I have a mover? Seconder? All in favor? Carried. Moving to council information. Moving forward, whatever points you want. Gentlemen?
Point number 7, I wonder if we should not support this for the long-term energy plan.
Are you prepared to move?
I'll move that we support the number 7.
Do I have a seconder?
Sorry.
Discussion on the motion? Right?
Well, I think Gary had made mention that we should be supporting something like this and nothing's came forward so far, so yeah, I think it's a good idea.
This is on the long-term energy
Yeah.
plan?
Cost
That's true.
Okay.
of-
Any further comments? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Bernie.
Going to number 8, and we've been back and forth on this one a lot, kind of lost track of whether we're supporting it or not. I believe at the last few meetings we've decided to stay there because we don't know the pricing. I'd just like to bring it forward to the council that if this new billing model goes through, number 8, for the OPP, East Wallanosh and Blythe will receive $100,000. It will cost them $100,000 more based on the houses that are going to be built because of the changes. I believe so far we've stayed out of it because we've been like, we don't know how it's going to affect us. But at $260 a house, it will add $100,000 to the price of OPP policing. So I wonder if we shouldn't be supporting this. I'll put a motion forward that we support this letter too.
I'll second.
Discussion?
So just a question, because I know we've discussed this at the Food Services Board too, that we really don't know yet what the equation is in order to argue in an intelligent way against it. I know everybody's not happy about the prospective increases, but I don't think I don't know enough about the model of how they came to those costs to be able to argue against it. I mean, for years they subsidized policing in the rural areas to $90 a household, which I think we all kind of knew sooner or later the jig was going to be up because, policing costs are going up just like everything else. And to artificially keep those numbers down in rural areas, it just wasn't sustainable. I don't know that this is the right model for billing. It may not be, but I don't know how, and from what I've understood through the Police Services Board, that, they haven't even, the Association of Police Services Board hasn't even got a really good handle on how, this was determined. Am I correct in that? Like, that's what we're hearing at the board. So, I mean, I don't mind putting a motion forward, we're not happy with the increases, but I think it's really more the, to argue against the framework when we don't understand it yet is a tough thing to do.
Well, not sure whether I'm completely correct, but 73% on a per house, and then the rest of it on, based on supplying service, like whether that is a fair method of doing it or not, so that.
If I understand it correctly, there's a base portion, and then there's an occurrence portion, and then there's other things in the equation as well.
Yeah.
It's very complex.
Thought?
I think just in a situation where we don't really know what the cases are that we're facing, I would support Councillor Bailey's motion to let people know that we are concerned and we want to have better information and we want to be kept apprised of what the formulae are and how they're going to work. There are many questions with this government that I think we need to keep on to, and this is one of the big ones. And there are several others that we need to lower up as well.
Okay. So, any further comments? All in favor? Carried.
What's that? Go ahead.
Bernie?
On number 14 with, when you read this over, it says we're going in a direction, by the sounds of it, it sounds like it's gonna cost us more, we're gonna be told where to run private lands. I want to get some more information on this one. I just don't understand, I've not seen anything on this, except for all of a sudden we've got a small municipality going, whoa, the government's telling us now we have to, that sounds like run roads on private lands, or take care of, or supervise, or, I have no idea, and I want to get some information on that before, again, we have something downloaded to us that we should have been speaking of about.
I may not be correct on this, but the thing of it is, for us to really work on anything where it can't be brought up to a municipal standard on private land, and that private roads that municipalities supply services to are a very big problem, and that development on a private road, you realize it's a private road. You don't get municipal services. I think it's as blunt as you can get. And if you don't get municipal services, you don't get a provincial portion, you don't get a federal portion. These are private roads. Unless you can afford to do it yourself, if you own that private road, you're just asking for trouble in the future. If it stays as a private road and does not come up to a municipal standard.
Well, I'm still not understanding what it's all, is it because now that we're going to be forced into servicing those private roads? I'm not understanding why it's in my package, and I need information on it to understand it.
To be quite honest, Your Worship, isn't it the case that sometimes it's something specific to one municipality,
Yeah.
so they circulate it to all the rest? I'm not sure whether this is really pertinent to our municipality, unless
We
the
stop
area
having
has
these
other-
things put in our paper then?
Actually,
We do have some private roads.
through the Municipal Association, we are listed as a member, and that you can send whatever letter you want to any other municipality. So that our staff just put it in for our knowledge that another municipality made the decision to do it. Did you have a comment, Jinx?
Yes, we do have some 100-acre farms in the middle of some blocks. And there is roads that go into those, which some of the landowners think they own the road that goes into those middle 100.
Dingmall Road?
They don't.
No.
No.
But I'm thinking of the one down by Bill Empey's, that goes back into the square 100, back in beside my farm.
Township road where that is?
That is a township road.
Exactly.
But the landowner figured he owned that piece of land.
Your Worship,
And I know he
just a
doesn't, but
point of
that's,
order. If somebody can make a motion to support it or not, then we can move on.
Actually, I just asked for information.
My recommendation is don't touch private roads.
I was not prepared to make a motion, just so everybody knows, I just wanted information on what the hell it was about, but anyway.
Gary, I just wanted to highlight point number 5, the new Accountability and Transparency Act for broader public sector that's been proposed by the province. There's been quite a bit of discussion in the municipal community about this proposed act, and just whether this is going to be a duplication of effort. It's noteworthy that in our case at North Huron Council has passed a code of conduct North Huron Council has passed and adopted an accountability and transparency policy as per the Municipal Act. We're governed by the Municipal Act, we're governed by the Municipal Freedom of Information Act. Arguably, the municipal level of government is under the highest level of accountability. And so, as a clerk, I have concerns about this particular act, and many others do, as we see it as a duplication of effort, and we take our responsibilities under the Municipal Act very seriously when it comes to accountability and transparency. What we do in terms of having open meetings and providing notice, and if we do have to go into a closed session, that we justify that based on a particular section of the Municipal Act. So just wanted to express my concerns with that proposed legislation from the province. I think you'll hear more in the municipal community about that.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that as well. This has been a big concern. I can see the need of adding quite a number of staff members just to do the accounting, the reporting of things. I mean, it was just horrendous, the possibilities. So I classify this proposal very much along the lines of the other ones on here. I can't remember the number, but it's government that's gone wild, I think, in terms of making ridiculous demands.
Dave?
Canadian Federation of Independent Business, I've been watching this legislation very carefully, and they've asked for members of CFID to comment, and I have commented on this, and I indicated that in my comments that we don't all run like the City of Toronto, and that we don't all have a mayor like the City of Toronto, and that municipal governments are responsible, and that we do take our job very seriously and act in a responsible manner.
Does anybody want to phrase a motion in that regard? Rob?
I would suggest that we send a letter to AMO and commend them for their work in criticizing this legislation, because I think they're doing a noble service in trying to explain this to the government in a way that hopefully they can understand. And so I think that's perhaps all we can do at this point from our perspective.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second that.
H. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Point number 16, if all the councillors would like to make a motion with Canadian Cancer Society proclaiming April as Daffodil Month. Right?
I'll second
Campbell?
I'd like to make a comment on this. I've been concerned about this drawing attention to the month and the day and so on with charitable projects. We made a motion some time ago about noticing Autism Day, and nothing happened. And I'm wondering, I've been thinking about this lately, and wondering, what difference does it make whether we notice this or not? Whether we put something in the paper saying that we're making note of the Canadian Cancer Society's project, or the Autism Organization, or the Alzheimer's Society, and so on. And I think we need to have a policy whereby we decide in a meaningful way what we're going to do, if anything, about these. What difference does it make? What's the best way of noticing it? And how do we involve the community more fully in terms of making something of this? Does that ad in the paper make a difference? Does it matter if we forget to put an ad in the paper for a certain thing? I just think that, I think I'd like a report from staff that they would look at what other municipalities are doing with regard to these, and how do we ensure that we're doing something that's really meaningful and significant and cost effective. I make that a motion.
Do I have a seconder? What's that, Ray?
I have a motion on the floor. Did we do this? Read, and did we vote? Did we vote on it?
I don't think there was a motion.
I made a motion that meeting council said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second,
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
and we
Yeah.
voted on this.
So we're good.
So that's common. Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor? Carried. Did you want that, what you said, to be looked at by staff?
Okay, yes, I'll make a motion to that effect. Requesting staff to look into what other municipalities are doing with regard to recognizing days to recognize charitable activities, and make recommendations as to what we should do on a regular basis when these items come up.
I just want to speak to that. From my point of view, I think what we're seeing, and unfortunately it's a general trend in all of life, I think at one time you probably had the local chapter come in and talk to council, and you knew the people that were involved. But as time goes on, more and more letters like this are coming down from Montreal or Toronto or Ottawa or London at head offices, and they're spread to all communities. And you don't even want to come in and have a chat with you the way United Way does and let you know what's going on. And I think this is a big problem. So we're not actually seeing the benefit in our community because we're not talking or seeing the local chapters. And I just wanted to put that out there.
That's exactly why I'm raising this.
Yeah,
this
I
issue.
kind of thought so.
If there's a seconder.
Not wanting to be argumentative, but the number of these things that come forward, the number of people in the community that talk to me, basically says which of these I support. And I want it because there is people working on behalf of the different charities, I'll say, and that those that talk to counselors and basically those that are longtime volunteer canvassers, etc. Those are the ones that I talk to.
In my own personal opinion, I don't think it's necessarily about, it's to bring awareness. And all of the things that I've seen that we have endorsed as a particular day are things that I think that touch lots of people in our communities and across the province or the country. Whether it's Alzheimer's awareness or autism awareness or cancer. We've all been touched by some of those things. And I think it's just a role of the council to try to assist in bringing that awareness to the community. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't know whether it's a good use of staff time to try to put together a policy that deals with that. I mean, we deal with them as they come up on a one-on-one basis.
Or we don't.
I think in most cases we are supportive of those that asks for support.
James?
I think it'd be nice if our newspapers would donate, when we do something like this, if they contacted the other municipalities to say, here's all the municipalities that are supporting this. but we give a lot of money for advertising in papers that we don't really see that we get back from it.
Brock?
So the one point that I raised is we passed a motion a couple months ago to recognize Autism Day, and last week Autism Day was, and I don't see anything that has happened with regard to it. So do we have a policy, and are we following it?
Gary?
Just on the autism recognition, you're right, council did pass a motion. We received a flag and some other information, and I know that flag is flying, or should be flying, at the North Huron Community Complex, because I believe tomorrow is Autism Day, or was it? Anyway, that
Someone
flag
told me
is...
it was last week, but anyway.
That's true.
But that's good if something's being done.
In fact, I received a call from the Autism Ontario public relations person, thanking council for their support and advising that a flag would be coming in the mail, and it did. So I think the recognition matters, and I honestly believe that North Huron Council leads by example in terms of recognizing many worthwhile organizations, provincial organizations, community organizations within North Huron. So I think council can be quite proud of taking the lead when it comes time to contributing to these organizations. In fact, I think council approves, what is it, between $10,000 and $12,000 worth of donations to various groups and agencies. And I think it's tremendous. And I think the recognition does matter, and something we can be very proud of.
It's just that I checked the papers and I didn't see anything there. I was expecting something, but if that's not our
Well,
policy.
there is other ways that especially for ones that do have their own flags and stuff for us to fly, or banners. I think that's something that we wholeheartedly endorse.
That's good. Well, I learned something.
Okay. Is there anything else in council information?
Just on that, your worship, I would make a motion to do June as Seniors Month. Ray said he was going to do it.
I thought of doing it, but it was a conflict of interest.
That's what I thought. It was a conflict of interest for the two of you, so I thought I'd do it.
Thank you.
As you seconded?
Yeah, I know.
Brock?
No, I wouldn't even second it, no.
Well, I'm a senior and I'll second it.
All those in favor? Carried. If there's nothing else, motion to receive, read, and file.
So moved.
McGowan and Reach. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to receive, read, and file the correspondence?
So
McGowan and Hallinan. All in favor? Carried. Moving to committee reports. Wide Business Improvement Area. Is there anything to add or any questions for Deputy Reach? Okay, moving to point 2, Wingham BIA. Same. Is there anything to add or any questions of Councillor Bailey? Okay. Point 3, Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. Same.
Yeah, if you want to look at item number 5 on the second page of the Maitland Valley, there has been some talk about the Falls Challenge course. They have been in financial trouble pretty well ever since they started, and as of the end of August, that course will no longer be at the Falls Reserve. They have found a slew of buyers, and then buy it with hopes that some of this equipment can be moved someplace else. and they're going to try and make up some of the money that they've lost to different people who are sponsoring them. So as of I think it's either the end of July or the end of August, when we're going to part of the proposal.
Thanks, James. Brock?
There's actually quite exciting developments that are in the works, and I think under new management, a whole new process, a new venue, could be a very, very successful.
I understand that too.
It's the person with the vision, the person who can manage the money, and
I didn't want to get into some of that. And I
I'm
knew
not
some of
getting
that was
into it,
going
but
to happen,
it's a positive kind of move.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Moving to point 4, North Huron Police Services Board.
Within the package, you'll have our minutes of the February the 18th meeting. Of note would be that our police board training with our provincial advisor, Peter Ozinga, did take place today, and all the board members were present, as well as a guest from Saugeen Shores Police Services Board, and the training went off extremely well. Other than that, calls for the month of January were very slightly down, and other than that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Archie. Moving to bylaws. Bylaw number 20, 2014. Being a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of council an agreement between Maitland Valley Conservation Authority and the Corporation of the Township of North Huron for the lease of a portion of the Turnberry Floodplain Conservation Area to provide recreational activities.
First, second, third.
McGowan and Campbell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 21, 2014, being a bylaw for the purposes of levying and collecting rates for various purposes and provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalty and interest.
First, second, and third.
Lawden and Reach. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 22, 2014, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 82, 2008 as amended, being the zoning bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of North Huron as it applies to the east part of Lot 33, Concession 9, Registered Plan 2834, Part 1, 85297, Marnock Line, Township of North Huron. Ray?
First, second, third.
Callahan and Lawden. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. Brock.
I received an email just before coming here tonight, a very interesting program. They're looking for farm family stories. And this is through a project that was started by United Nations declaring the International Year of Family Farming. And there may be lots of people in our area who would be interested in participating in this. And I would, for the sake of the press, I'd like to put an email address in here where people can get information about it and the rules for the submissions. It's info@brucedalepress.ca. And they can find out further information about who's organizing this. This Brucedale Press is a fairly new publishing company, and they are participating in this for historical societies and various organizations that are sponsoring.
Okay. Probably should have mentioned it in the Reeves report, but I have a copy of this volunteerism, Heart of the Community. anybody that wants to look at it. This lists, I'll say, a few of the volunteer organizations and the way they work in Huron and Perth County. This was commissioned by the Social Research and Planning Council. And basically, we take a look at all the volunteers we have. Many of our organizations would not function at all without them. So a very big thank you to them, and it's something that actually I think I have 2 other copies of this, so that anybody that would want this one, it is available.
I received a copy of it electronically. I don't know if others did as well, but if anyone is interested, I can send that, forward it to.
Thank you, Brock. Bird.
I know I've asked this before, but I'm asking, what John in my memory was, we have 2 bills in from, I guess, 2 different, or maybe the same company that are, checks paid out to 2 companies that are looking at mail voting through the mail. And I know I've concerned as a councillor, voiced my opinion that I think we should have polling stations as well, because it's quite a transition to make, especially if you're elderly. Like to get out at any chance you can to visit with people. And I'm sure they look forward to chatting to people. So I'm just wondering, when are those going to come forward, Ray, so we could just review the envelope? Would be very important. We talked about this, so it doesn't sit on the post office floors. What we're going to do with, because I'm sure the day after you're going to have a stream of people that are knocking at 2 or 3 polling stations that don't exist as of this year. So I think as a transition here, it's something that we really need to look at and see if we get polling stations. And have this discussion with the whole council. And,
I guess it's my feeling that if council's decided to go with the vote by mail voting method, I believe that polling stations are not required. But if there's a council motion regarding that, then we'll proceed on that basis. But I agree with you that we have a lot of work to do to communicate this voting method to electors in North Huron, and that's my responsibility, and I want to keep everybody informed as to what we're doing and how this is going to work, and the options that voters have to make sure they're on the voters list and that they understand the vote by mail package. And I can certainly bring the sample packages forward in a public forum and make sure that the community and the candidates that are running are comfortable with what's in the package and how this process is going to unfold. As I said, I don't feel it's necessary to have polling stations, but at the same time, we don't want to discourage anybody from not voting. And if that would help to generate more activity, more responses, then I'd be in favor of that. But,
so I'm going to put a motion forward that we have a second look at this and see if in this transition year we should not have polling stations open. See if I have any support for that.
Is there a seconder?
I'm going to second that for discussion because I was opposed to going this type of election. I was going with the polling station. Stations.
Councillor McGowan.
It seems like this just keeps getting rehashed over and over again when council collectively has already made its decision. If I recall correctly, what the clerk also said was that for those people that wish to physically take their ballot and put it in a box, that he would have one available in the clerk's office in the town hall that would be open, that they could be deposited there rather than put in the mail. I don't know why I've not had any ratepayers complaining at all. I explained it to my mother-in-law who's in her 80s. She doesn't seem to have a problem with it. It will be a transition, but it seems like more and more municipalities every week are announcing they're going to vote by mail. It's, we're not like the lone wolves that are out there doing this. It is becoming a more and more common, and even more municipalities are moving to an electronic method as well, which we didn't do. So.
That on something like this, where council has made a decision that I probably should be asking for a motion to raise that subject. That,
Motion to reconsider.
yeah, for a motion to reconsider. And a lot of them basically require more than just a simple majority for motions to reconsider. Basically because it is supposed to be policy once we pass it, and a government body cannot keep changing every 2 or 3 or 5 meetings as to how they're doing, so that I will entertain this motion tonight, but I do hope to have a motion to reconsider before we go into something that we already have passed and is looked at by staff as policy.
So Mr. McGowan has clearly told us there will be a place to put their ballot on election day here in the town hall.
Your worship, actually, it was the clerk that stated that numerous meetings ago. It wasn't me,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
And just to clarify, the clerk did not say it tonight, but Mr. McGowan did. Thank you. I'll withdraw my motion.
Agreeable to that, Ray?
Yes.
Okay, anything else in council reports or inquiries?
Raise wages.
Yeah, I guess, clarify that, so then there is going to be, somebody can come to this town hall. They come from right up here to come here, that's the one that there's going to be.
Or if they would like, they could put their vote in the vote by mail envelope and drop it in the black post office and save themselves the trip to Wyndham. I mean, we'd love to have them, and they can shop in our downtown and spread joy and wealth and so on.
I think that's good, you explain it, fine.
But, I mean, I will undertake to keep council and the community informed as to how this vote by mail process is going to unfold. Communications will be a part of that. But it's really as simple as filling the documentation out and closing it in the envelope that's provided and putting it in the mail. And other municipalities that have gone this voting method have seen their voting rates increase considerably. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward to clerk administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Reeve. Just a couple things. Our Director of Finance has provided year-to-date financial reports, and they're on the desk. Just a reminder that the next council meeting, which is scheduled for Tuesday, April 22nd, will be held in Blythe at the ESTC. Again, that's Tuesday, April 22nd, because Monday is the Easter Monday. So that will fall on Tuesday, and that meeting will be in Blythe at the ESTC. Also wanted to note that we have 638 children enrolled in swimming lessons at the complex this spring. So I think that's great news. In previous meetings, I've mentioned the pilot project that MPAC and other municipalities were working on, this voterlookup.ca. Well, that the pilot's over. It was a great success, and now it is an online service for everyone, for all potential electors to go on this site and to confirm and update their information. So that's voterlookup.ca. And so again, the pilot was a great success, and so MPAC have flipped the switch, so it's live to all of us to go online, and it allows eligible electors to confirm or update their information for the upcoming municipal and school board elections. And that's now available to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Well, we went over a great number of subjects, so that moving forward, public gallery questions or comments, please refer to points of interest that happened in the meeting. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the gallery?
Yeah, right, I was just wondering, these ballots you're talking about, Cleveland Town Hall there, are they gonna be there lock and key, and how do you keep them safe from somebody tampering with them? See, the old way, you just put them in the box and they...
Well, they would be in a similar box to what we are used to, and that if you wanted to come in here and leave it rather than putting it in to the post office, that would be okay.
Yeah, but is it gonna be under lock and key so no one can tamper with them?
Ballot boxes are locked, or sealed.
But if somebody breaks in and takes it?
We have a vault.
Okay.
Basically, any deputy returning officer is under oath to follow through and protect those ballots, so that it's just following Election Act procedures. Yes, we would be doing that.
And what if the post office is thrown on the floor and somebody else picks them up? How are we gonna...
Archie?
As far as I know, most Trimburies run this for at least
Twice.
one, if, yeah, not twice, maybe twice, I'm not sure, once for sure. And I don't think they've reported many problems at all, actually. Their voter turnout went up quite a bit. And I didn't hear of any problems about them getting tossed in the post office, but I guess that's something we'll have to deal with.
Chris? Danny? Okay, basically, the next thing would be the in-camera session, but before I ask for a motion for that, I want to re-emphasize what Gary said. We're going to live for the next meeting, and hope to see a number of you there. Thank you. Motion to go in camera. Brock and Ray. All in favor? Short recess.